penalty of rupees 1,000 per day. Now that is a true systemic disruption that has really changed Telangana's landscape in terms of industrialization. Likewise, we have created many such institutions, we have created many such systems, but of course, any system, any book, any constitution even, is only as good as the person holding it or as good as the person running the country or the state. Can you make a negative impact using the same system? Of course, yes, and that's what is seen in Telangana today. So therefore, I would humbly say that maybe freezing, maybe not allowing the political class to tamper with, not allowing them to poke their nose where it doesn't belong, is something that Indians have to impress upon our lawmakers, impress upon our governments. Like Thomas Paine very, very famously said, Shoma, every patriot's primary responsibility, primary duty, and primary allegiance to the country is to save his country from its government. That is something we all need to agree on, be it the state government here or the central government there. We cannot allow them to mess with it. And that is something I am truly, truly offended by as to what Congress is doing in Telangana.
You're giving a very easy segue actually to the next session. Not that we are stopping now, but that, Arvind and Devesh's thesis is that they've taken a Hippocratic oath that do no harm, even if you don't know how to do some good, do no harm to the economic and political system. But let me now come to the state of the opposition. We're going to have a series of very important elections in Bengal, in Tamil Nadu, there's this...
Kerala.
Yes, and there's this whole sense that the BJP is really a juggernaut that cannot be beaten. Let's, for a moment, not critique them. I will allow you that. But what is going on with the opposition? Why is the opposition in a state in India where they just can't seem to not only not do good, but also do harm at the same time, Why is it that the Mahagathbandhan doesn't hang together? Why is India become just an acronym, Why are you not making common cause? Even in Parliament right now, there's been all of this discussion about the SIR and the electoral rolls, but the opposition is not even agreed on whether this is a big enough issue to take on the government on or not. What do you think is the biggest problem facing all of you who are in opposition right now?
Well, I can't speak as a representative of the opposition because, the fundamental thing with us is we can't sit together and we can't talk together. See, for instance, the lack of unity is the biggest challenge. For instance, I'm fighting Congress in my state and BJP in my state. And then when it comes to union politics or politics in Delhi, we are asked to pick sides. We're asked to pick, whether you want to battle Congress or BJP. Now, my point is, if I'm fighting Congress in the state and BJP in Delhi, I'm still opposition, effectively. But what went wrong, if you ask me, like you said, with respect to BJP and the opposition, I'd say Congress is the largest party today in the opposition. They've failed to enthuse people, they've failed to modernize, they've failed to organize, then they've failed to present a credible alternative nationally. That's beyond doubt. And that is why BJP is getting away without any serious scrutiny. BJP is able to, win election after election. Because the biggest asset of Prime Minister Modi, if you ask me, is Mr. Rahul Gandhi himself. That is a reality. You can see it. So the point is, unless Congress wakes up from its deep slumber, modernizes, organizes itself, and presents itself in a form that people are able to appreciate, not much is going to change. Yes, there will be regional forces, like Mr. Stalin here or the AIA, DMK, who are able to hold off Congress and BJP in their state in Tamil Nadu, and I really salute the people of Tamil Nadu for basically challenging the central overreach, if you ask me, from both central parties. Be it West Bengal, where Didi has shown that, she's able to hold off BJP. Even in Telangana, we were able to hold off BJP and Congress for 10 years, and we lost by a whisker in the last election. So it is the strong regional parties that have been able to hold off, including Kejriwal, who's won 3 terms on the trot. The biggest letdown for this country right now, since 1996 or post that, has been the Congress party, without a question. Because they're the ones who have not been able to build a coalition. They're the ones who don't seem to get off their high horse, cannot seem to understand that their days... See, look at Bihar. What went wrong? See, in Bihar, Congress is a fringe party. In Tamil Nadu, they're a fringe player. But they do not want to accept the fact. I'm sure we'll talk about how they troubled DMK in April 2026. Because the Congress always wants to bite more than what it can chew. And then eventually it helps the opposition. That's how it works all the time. Having said that, now, what is that glue that can bind us together? See, for instance, if us in Telangana and Stalin in Tamil Nadu and Didi in, we tried, by the way, my father tried very, very hard to stitch up a credible third front or a federal front as he called it. But what we realized is there isn't anything that's binding us together other than probably a little bit of, not animosity, but probably a little bit of a common enemy kind of a factor. That is not something that is going to work in long term. So that is the biggest challenge with India. Our diversity sometimes also ends up being our challenge. So I'd say that's the biggest problem with opposition today.
So, but then that's the big question that, you know, like you said, that the common enemy with a lot of these parties is the BJP. And I'll ask you to enumerate what about them makes them an enemy. But the other question, and very, very crucially attached to that, is that what is the alternate vision? You know, you're saying the Congress doesn't have a vision, but let's assume that you were in Rahul Gandhi's place today. What is it that you would do which actually presents an alternative vision for India, economically, you know, imaginatively, politically, that is radically different from what the BJP is doing?
See, caste is not the answer to the religion, vertical that BJP has latched onto. Unfortunately, Rahul Gandhi has been advised by his advisors, I guess, that, you know, to beat BJP at its own game, which basically is polarization in the name of religion, you have to latch onto caste. And that's why he keeps talking about caste censors and how jitna abadi, utna hak, etc., etc. Somehow it has gotten into his system that this is the answer. That's not. See, like I said, Prime Minister Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, today is remembered for building institutions like IITs and IIMs. Tell me one institution that Congress has built post Prime Minister Nehru's era. I mean, there are a few which Indira Gandhi has done, but beyond that, I don't see much happening. What is the vision of Rahul Gandhi for this country till 2047? He's probably 53, 54 now. Other than sense of entitlement, I don't see much coming from Rahul Gandhi ever. See, again, don't get me wrong when I say this. What would I do? I would focus on creating more economic clusters in India. Today, if you look at India as a country, we have about 10 or 12 economic engines that are driving the prosperity in this country. Hyderabad, Chennai, Bangalore, and of course other metros, Bombay, Delhi, and Kolkata, and many others, Ahmedabad, etc. Have we ever seen Rahul Gandhi present a vision of how this economic prosperity can be converted into jobs, how these economic clusters can focus each of them on a separate sector, and how our institutions, the world-class institutions that we do have, the IITs, the IIMs, and even the universities, how we can scale them up and really convert this knowledge into prosperity, the young think force which has global aspirations today. I don't see Rahul Gandhi talking about startups. I don't see him talking about innovation. I don't see him talking about world-class universities and pumping more money into research and development. This is what I would start talking about. Will it win me elections? I don't know at this point in time, honestly, again. But end of the day, though, as long as you get to play a role in politics, you know, being in public service, public life itself is a huge privilege, Shoma, be it in opposition or be it in government. When in power, you deliver. When in opposition, you listen. So therefore, I think both responsibilities you have to accept with humility, and you have to continue to build the narrative, continue to build the momentum. Given an opportunity, I would recreate, one straight answer. I would recreate what we have done in Telangana in 9.5 years across India. That's what I would do, and that would be the magic pill if you ask me.
You know, and that's a very interesting answer, and I actually want to push you further on that. So you said on an economic vision, you know, but the Congress has also not been able to revitalize its imaginative or the big picture story, which is, you know, in any way, there are enough people who perhaps don't like the BJP vision.
I don't think even the Congress is talking so much about themselves as much as we are talking about them.
But you just place them as the nodal, you know, I was trying to bring you...
Unfortunate, but that's the reality. You know, they are this albatross which keeps hanging around India's opposition's neck. We can't seem to get rid of them. But at the same time, they have become an unfortunate indispensability for this country. And I think, if you ask me, state after state, if Congress is thrown out, I think that would offer a lot of strong regional forces which will truly come in onto their own and start offering credible alternative to BJP.
So then let me ask you, how do you see the future of India panning out? You know, that do you see the BJP running all the way down to the south? Or do you see more federal forces coming up, like you're saying? Do you see the Congress atrophying? Now that you're having a chance to listen and to reflect, what do you see going forward?
I don't think BJP is going to be able to make a huge inroad into South. While they've had their opportunity in Karnataka, they've lost it. I don't see them bouncing back in the South, at least. I think we have a lot of political parties which are extremely aligned and extremely hands-on with respect to local aspirations and local demands in the South. Be it the Dravidian parties in Tamil Nadu, or be it us in Telangana. In Andhra, we have YSRCP and TDP and Janasena. So likewise, in Karnataka also we have regional parties. So therefore, in South, I don't see a great deal happening for BJP. But I do sense a certain element of despondency that's also creeping in the BJP system as well, because they've just lost 37 parliament seats in Uttar Pradesh. That must have given them a scare. They must be worried. So they will start looking at newer areas, Bengal, Tamil Nadu, which are all going up for elections next year. So what I do hope, in 2024, people of India gave BJP a scare. And I hope people of Tamil Nadu, people of West Bengal, and people of Kerala give them a resounding message in 2026 that politics of partisanship, politics of polarization on religious lines will be rejected in every form, and all three states hopefully will vote against BJP and vote for strong regional parties. And that will send a resounding message across the country that this sort of politics is not acceptable and that this sort of polarization is not acceptable. Hopefully that will set the trend for 2029.
So, let's not say that, I don't want to make you the sort of ventriloquist for the Congress, but I just want to, because you put out a vision right now about the economic clusters, that just in case you had to be the chief opposition leader right now, again, is there a way that you would spell out a different vision for India, which is not the BJP's vision, but which is not just saying that, they're communal? What is the positive vision that you're putting out, which people could buy into?
Like I said, fundamentally, we've been told forever that, we were a great nation, we have great potential. Unfortunately, if we don't translate that potential into reality, if we don't translate that, great opportunity into reality, we're doing grave injustice, not just to ourselves, but future generations as well. So the one thing I would do differently, if given an opportunity as chief opposition, there is 70,000 TMCs of water in India today, running across our rivers, in the Gangetic Plains, in Yamuna, in Kaveri, in Krishna, Godavari. The first thing I would do is create a master plan for India in terms of how this 70,000 TMCs of water can be leveraged for the 40 crore acres of arable land in India, and how, in a meaningful fashion, in less than 3 or 4 years, within a 5-year span, how each of these infrastructure projects can create manifold wealth for our farmers. That's the first thing I'd present. Secondly, I do a portable drinking water connection into every home has become a reality in Telangana. No other state in India so far has delivered on that promise. I would promise within 3 to 4 years, a portable drinking water connection to each and every home. Our urban agglomerations, such as Chennai and Hyderabad, have the humongous potential to create economic prosperity for millions and millions of people. I would invest heavily in public transportation, public health, public education, and create an agenda, basically, which will not only add infrastructure, but also create great deal of economic prosperity and millions of jobs. Lastly, I would say, that famous John F. Kennedy saying, which goes, a lot of people think America has great infrastructure because it has good, it is rich. But it's in fact the exact opposite. America is rich because it has great infrastructure. There is no substitutes. Today, just to give you an example, Shoma, Canadian Pension Fund is investing heavily in India. The Life Insurance Corporation of India has almost, my friend Tyaga was here somewhere, I think has more than 50 lakh crores of deposits sitting somewhere in the bank. A Canadian pension fund is being invested into infrastructure, public transport, metros, etc. in India. But Indian pensioners' money is laying eggs in our banks here. Why are we not able to judiciously use what is at our disposal? Not only our pension funds, but several other humongous assets which are heavily underleveraged. India needs bold, future-ready, progressive politics of development. Development has to become a policy, not an election season politics. So if you were to ask me, I would lay out my agriculture agenda, my energy agenda, my urban agenda, my rural agenda, and probably go to each and every sector, hold town halls in each and every large metro, small metro, and probably try and deliver as much as I can in terms of premise and promise.
Thank you so much. As I was laughing that the last time I did a session with PTR, he got a standing ovation in Delhi, and that didn't go too well for him. So I hope that your visionary statements here don't boomerang on you. But
No, I hope he wins back. People like him, honestly, people like him are a must in Indian politics. People like him should win back. And it should not look like, because see, it should not look like somebody who's got that intellectual capacity cannot come back electorally, and that would really be a huge setback. So I do hope any of you voters from Madurai here, I don't know, I'm rooting for PTR there, Tyaga there, is a dear friend of mine. So I do hope he'll win back and come back. Yeah.
Yes. Just because we have you here, we're, like you said, people say that they don't like political leaders and they don't like politicians, but I'm not one of those. Actually, I think it's the toughest job on the planet. And I want to ask you for a personal sort of insight that, what is the most difficult thing about being a political leader?
Can I be blunt? I'm sure we're being recorded, and I'm sure this is going to go out social media and I'll be trolled heavily. Biggest challenge, unfortunately, in India is to put up with our mediocre bureaucracy. They're extremely status quoist, they're resistant to change, and they live and thrive in ambivalence and ambiguity. And to change them, biggest challenge. The problem is ever since License Raj, for those of you who remember License Raj, they're used to sitting in ivory towers, our bureaucrats, and people going and begging and pleading with them. Now, if you tell them to work differently and change differently and start thinking differently, they're heavily resistant. And the biggest challenge is they look at us politicians who are elected as people who are only elected for 5 years. So in his mind, the bureaucrat is thinking, okay, this guy is only here for 5 years, I'm here for 50 years. So why should I listen to him? The fact is, in a democracy, it is the dog that should wag the tail and not the tail wagging the dog. This is something I absolutely believe is the biggest challenge. And second biggest challenge in politics today, this is going to go horribly wrong, but I'm going to still say it, our judiciary.
Is?
Judiciary. We have 5 million pending cases. And look at what they are taking up. There is no expeditious justice delivery system in India. We keep talking about ease of doing business, ease of entry into the country, ease of entry into a state. But then there should also be an ease of exit, if there is a problem. Judiciary should come to your rescue, dispute redressal mechanism should be there. That doesn't exist in our country. So therefore, these are the two biggest challenges, if you ask me. And of course, putting up with, like I said, mediocrity among bureaucracy really tops the charts.
So just one last, I would say almost hard question, is that another political leader once told me that for him, the most difficult thing was that he said, once you're in the seat of power, you're surrounded by so many sort of rent seekers that they almost make it natural for you to be corrupt, that it's just not possible. Like you almost lose your perspective and your radar on what is corrupt and what is not. So have you found it difficult to keep your radar and what is political corruption, what is personal corruption? And sadly, you spoke of the Kaleshwaram Dam as a point of pride. You asked everyone to Google it. But there's CBI cases against your party and you and your father over that very particular dam on corruption, So again, both at a philosophical level and on this particular case.
No, I'll probably start with the Kaleshwaram one first, We'll talk philosophy later. See, I'll tell you what, the funniest part is this. So this project, Kaleshwaram, like I said, is a project which irrigates 45 lakh acres. We completed it in 4 years, a record breakneck speed. In every project in India takes decades. We completed it in 4 years, in and out. Now, Congress party comes in, including the big man, Rahul Gandhi himself, comes in and starts accusing us of a 1 lakh crore scam. The entire amount of money that was spent on building this project was 92,000 crores. But Rahul Gandhi comes in and sets the narrative that this is a 1 lakh crore scam. I know that he's poor at many things, but I did not think math was one of them. Now, the problem is, somehow the narrative sticks. In India, the thing is, when you're accused, see, when I
In all fairness to them, the BJP brought them down by saying the telecom scam was a 1 lakh crore scam, and Kapil Sibal said it was a zero crore scam. So that stayed in their minds as a good political weapon.
Shoma, all I would say is, end of the day, we're all, Indians. We love our country. We may not love government of India, but we love our country. We love India. But when we have within India, when we have people like Rahul Gandhi, who's supposed to be, or who's a wannabe prime minister, who belongs to this family which has had 4 prime ministers in the country, before he speaks, he should double check, he should cross check, and he should be a leader, not a reader. He can't read scripts. Yeah? Somebody gives him a script, he reads out. That's irritating, firstly. And second point is, yes, have you had temptations? Have you had, the challenge? Whether I accept it or not, when I went to meet the Chief Election Commissioner and his 2 other election commissioners recently, 2-3 months ago, when SIR in Bihar was being talked about, we are the first party in India to reach out and basically call it a farce. So when I went to him, and this was a closed door meeting, I did tell him, I said, not a single MLA, not a single MP in this country is elected within the mandatory expenditure limit that you have set. Do you know that? He said, yes. In a closed door meeting, I would say yes. The fact is, any political party which is going in for an election has to spend money. The limits today, as prescribed by Election Commission of India, are unrealistic. I would not say more than that, otherwise cases would be filed on me tomorrow. So it is a fundamental reality in India. Like I said, economic bankruptcy of our people, intellectual bankruptcy of political class is a reality. It's a deadly cocktail. Am I above it? No, certainly not. I am one among them. We are riding a tiger. Unfortunately, it's a vicious cycle. We are riding a tiger.
Riding a tiger.
Riding a tiger because, it's a vicious cycle. For a politician, who's out of government, out of power, the fundamental objective is to come back, to crawl back. Now, how do I do that? Come out with ridiculous allegations like 1 lakh crore on a 92,000 crore project. So, am I above the pettiness of what politics has become? Not really. But at the end of the day, though, I think if you ask me, am I still willing to work with Congress or BJP on larger national issues or state issues? Of course, yes. So I think we have to start drawing lines. We have to start understanding the realities of politics. Have I been above and beyond the temptations of being in power? No, I will be honest. So therefore, yes, we have run elections. That's the way BJP and Congress has been running it, just the way DMK, Anna DMK has been running it, like any other political party in India. And I will not say that I'm running a mutt, sannyas ashram or something. We are running a political party and we have to be aligned with realities. We have certainly not been above any other party in terms of what happens in elections. But I can tell you with great deal of confidence and authority that we've been able to make an indelible impression, a very emphatic impression on my state. And it is now the Congress which is running the show, and I hope they continue to do the good work. That's all I hope.
Well, thank you very much, KTR. That was a very big and honest admission to make, but for a moment I thought this was my ring till I saw there's a price tag attached to it.
I could hold on to that for you if you want. I'm a politician, remember?
So, yeah. But thank you very much. And just absolutely last question, which I wanted you to do in one line. Because, we've been sort of speaking about Rahul Gandhi and the Congress, and
oh God, we're still on this topic?
No. I was saying it's a strange situation where, you dump more on the opposition even more than the government or the ruling party. But you said earlier that there were many things that, you make the BJP a common enemy. So if you were to list 2 or 3 things that you dislike about them, but at the same time, and I had asked you that question in the beginning, what are they doing right that makes them win election after election? I think that analysis would be very interesting.
Well, the first and foremost thing is BJP has let down this country in the last 10 years, without a question, because, they made tall promises. Remember, all the promises now, at least reminding them of the promises now, even that seems like, an anti-national thing to do, so to speak. Because if I remind somebody that Prime Minister Modi promised every Indian a home by 2022 and it has not happened, I will be called an anti-national. If I remind my friends from BJP or even anybody else that Prime Minister Modi promised a 5 trillion economy by 2022, that did not happen, I'll be branded as anti-national. If I remind my BJP friends that, portable drinking water connection to each and every home did not happen. The 5 trillion economy, the farmers' income doubling, etc., etc. None of these have been delivered. What did they deliver in the last 10 years or 11 years, so to speak? I'd say they've delivered politics of hate. They've delivered politics of divisive nature to almost every Indian home today, and politics of huge divide. So there is not a lot to like in BJP, if you ask me. Unfortunately, what works for them is one simple thing. They've mastered the art of polarizing and setting the narrative. And unfortunately, we as opposition have not been able to counter it productively and effectively. That is a hard fact. They've really mastered the art of polarization. Us versus them is a narrative that they drive brilliantly, and they're relentless, just like you, persistent. And that is something,
Wow. This is the first time I've been presented as a parallel to the BJP.
No, you. I wish. No, I'm saying they're as relentless, as persistent, and as, I'll tell you what I admire in them though. There are a lot of things I don't like in them. They won Gujarat election. They won the Uttar Pradesh election. The very next day they're out in a rally in Gujarat. They're relentless. I saw Chief Minister of Delhi, Rekha Gupta, leading a campaign rally for a by-election in Delhi municipality. Now you have a Chief Minister campaigning for a municipal corporation by-poll for a single division. That is unheard of. So these are the things that make BJP. You like them, hate them, they're relentless, they're always at you. They're constantly trying to up their game, and that is something we all can take a raw inspiration from and take a few leaps.
In all fairness, yes, their endeavor is incredible, but I also want to say that if there was another, sort of ally of the BJP on stage, they would have trotted out a lot of numbers as well on what they've done and not done. So I just want to put that on.
They will tell you only 3 things. They'll talk about Pakistan, they'll talk about Bangladesh, they'll talk about Hindus and Muslims. Beyond that it is beyond their comprehension. Trust me when I say this.
Okay. Since you're the person on stage, I'm going to give you an easy ticket on that. But they would have brought up some economic figures as well. But for the moment, I'm going to park that because I'm going to invite the economists on stage.
We did phenomenally well, sir.
Just for those who couldn't hear, the question was, has the growth they created, was it inclusive? Because they've never got the bottom 10% vote in Telangana.
I'm not quite sure I understand the bottom 10% question, but I'll tell you one thing. On the multi-dimensional poverty index, we are the state which has reduced highest amount of poverty. This is not my metric, you can go look it up, sir. Highest amount in the last 1 decade, number one. Number two, the bottom 10%, see, the total polled vote for my party in 2014 was about 39%. In 2018, it was 47%. So, in fact, if anything, our vote share has increased significantly, and most of it came from rural areas. And no, I don't know how to quantify that, honestly, if there is a metric. But we've been winning elections. The last one was an anomaly in my mind. We're just a 1.8% with a 4 lakh difference in a 4 crore population. I don't think that's a big setback or a big defeat. In fact, I take a lot of pride in not yielding to the temptation. When Congress was promising the moon to the people, we didn't yield to the temptation. When they said free bus for women, we didn't yield to it. We said the corporation is in losses, we're not going to do that. So had we done a few of those, maybe we could have also won elections. When Prime Minister Modi says freebie culture is bad, I honestly really thought at one point maybe he's serious. But when I saw in Bihar, he gave 1.2 crore women 10,000 rupees right before the election. And he's won the election. 71% of the women. Would you call that bottom 10% coming out and voting? I don't know. But the point, sir, is the point.
Sorry, sir. I'm going to have to stop this because we are on to our next session.
Yeah.
But KTR, thank you very much for being such a collaborative partner. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you. We're going to flow right into the next session. Because it's a rainy day, we are holding you captive right here. We have 2 other absolutely really powerful speakers. But before that, I just want to take 1 minute of your attention to share with you that we've been talking about technology in the new economic era. And as we've shared with you before, we have created a conference called Synapse, where we bring together some of the most cutting-edge minds across the world in biotechnology, in AI, in robotics, in neuroscience, because, as we said, we really feel that everyone who's a decision maker in India needs to be aware of and engage with, celebrate, adapt, debate the forces of change that are so exponentially sweeping across the world. So I'm just going to take 2 minutes to show you a little teaser about Synapse. Our dates are 21st and 22nd of February. It's at the Meridian in Gurgaon. Our website is open. It's synapseconclave.com. The tickets are available for selling. So please do. We have a fantastic lineup of speakers. I'm going to show you this quick teaser, and then we're going to go right into the next session and then stop for a cocktail break after that. So I'll just ask the console to show it. I'm Shoma Chaudhary. I'm the founder of Lucid Lines. Thank you. Not every generation gets to be living at a time when there's a pivotal change in a civilization itself. How do you train a machine with culture and empathy and values?
Okay, Sophia. I think you're ready.
What does this even mean, that we have to participate in automation? After we enable the machine, what's going to happen to society? Is it really Silicon Valley that's the new military? What does it mean to be human if you're 99% bacteria? How do you define AGI? And you're inside the belly of the beast. What is your timeline on it?
I am trying to start a global movement for all of us to reclaim our right to cognitive liberty.
Humans are good. We're deeply good, but we're also a mess.
How do we share our income in society if we can't rely upon the world of work to do it?
We're going through, in effect, two climate changes in once. One in the change of the climate, and one in the change of the climate of technology.
If you are asking me as a scientist, I will say we are just scratching the surface of what we know about the universe.
The real existential risk for humanity is not that a robot comes here and kills us all. The real existential risk is that we all become insane.
AI is one more proof of the uniqueness of consciousness, and I'll tell you why.
I think that's brilliant.
Mind-blowing.
Wonderfully curated.
It's superb.
Absolutely incredible.
Very exciting.
It's mind-blowing.
Amazing job.
No, I don't like it. I love it.
Mind-blowing.
Great speakers. Connects people.
This is an amazing conference.
This is completely unique. I've never seen anything like it. Shoma is just a force of nature.
You are absolutely a force of nature. Congratulations for this exceptional conference.
And with that, we're going to go right into our next session. This is a really, really crucial session because it both looks back at the history of India, helps us understand how we got here, but it also looks forward to where we need to head. And like I said, that was a prelude to that conversation, but this, in a way, dives even deeper, both at the economic and political history of India and where we are headed. Arvind Subramaniam has been the Chief Economic Advisor of India. He's also one of the world's most renowned economists. He's taught at Harvard and at Johns Hopkins and elsewhere. Devesh Kapoor is again a very, very renowned political scientist who's done immense amount of work on India, even on particularly our migrant communities, and like we've been saying, the lower 10% as well. They've now written a book called 1/6 of Humanity, which is really what India is, and where we've come from over these last 75 years of our republic and where we are headed. To discuss that, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Arvind Subramaniam and Devesh Kapoor on stage. Also, I'll ask the Lucid Lines team to please usher everybody who's outside in. We'll stop for a cocktail break and snacks and dinner after this. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much, both of you. You know, that's a really important and giant book that you've written. You know, I want to just delve into it a little bit first, Arvind, that what was the premise of going back these 75 years? You know, what is it that you really wanted to diagnose about India? And if you were to distill this giant of a book, like I said, down to 4 or 5 key points when you looked over its entire history, what was that?
So first of all, Shoma, thanks for having us, and thanks to all of you who've shown up in this rainy, inclement weather. So I think there were two parts to your question. Why did we write this, and what is the, as you would say, the elevator pitch of this book?
Yes.
And I need Devesh's help because these are not easy questions. I mean, I think the why we wrote this was because I think we felt that there was a gap in what existed out there on India. In the following sense, that, you know, development is something that's multifaceted. And most previous attempts at doing this for India, and there are some great works on India, you know, Bhagwati and Desai, Shukumoy Chakravarti, lots of people have written, political scientists have written this. But because Devesh and I felt that development is a much broader task, especially for a nascent country like India, you know, you have to forge a nation, a new nation, right? It's very easy to have a geography, but to create, you know, you've created India, but you have to create Indians. How was that done? You have to create, in fact, reconfigure a colonial state into a modern developmental state. You have to build an economy, and you have to change society. So you have to analyze all these, and uniquely in the case of India, all this was done through democratic politics on a country, as it were, that's the largest in the world in scale, and arguably the most diverse. So it's just a complex transformational problem, and we felt that this hadn't been attempted for India. And, you know, economists have a very narrow view, political scientists have a narrow view, and we thought we'd bring together our thing to do this, you know, big effort at so that's the real reason we did that.
Right.
On the elevator pitch, Devesh, do you want to go first? Or you, and then I'll follow? Because
So, you know, there's, you asked like why we wrote the book. So to quote John F.
Sorry,
Kennedy,
will you just speak into the mic?
Okay. You asked why we wrote the book. So one way to answer it, like Kennedy said, why not? You
Why
asked
not?
why? Yeah, I mean, I think we both had a palpable sense of dissatisfaction with what was out there. I think academia has become very narrow. I mean, we are really confined to within our disciplines. But of course, what happens on the ground, realities, they don't follow these tight to the disciplines.
Right.
And both of us come with very varied academic backgrounds. And so to think through this was as much an intellectual joy and journey for us. I think what we were determined was, one, not to go in with any preconceived notions that this was the story, but to make sure that we really build data on almost every aspect of development and allow the story to come through the data rather than have a story and look for data to back our priors. So
Right.
that was one difference. The second difference was we did not want to judge the past through the lens of the present. It's very easy, that old saying from Hegel, the owl of Minerva flies at dusk.
Sorry, Devesh, I'm going to ask.
The owl of Minerva flies at dusk. It's very easy to say, oh, Nehru did this wrong, or this was that. So what we build is a set of about 3,000 plus official government reports and documents on every aspect, and read through how they were seeing it at that point of time. What were the constraints they were seeing? How were they seeing their reality, rather than for us to see it and make these judgments? So these were the two, I think, distinctive approaches we brought to this project.
But to answer, build on what Devesh said, what's the elevator pitch of the book, So the first thing is that I think we strenuously stayed clear of trying to be reductive about what happened in the past. So it's very easy to say, oh, it's all about economics, or it's all about politics, or it's all about this. And India, the historical experience, has just been too complex, too rich, and too textured to fall into any easy generalization. But having said that, we do have one or two big themes that run through the book. And one of them is what we describe as in the term precocious.
Precocious.
Okay? So there are two or three senses in which we use the term precocious. One is, if you look at politics, India was a precocious democracy, i.e. it adopted democracy unlike other countries. See, there are two models of development around the world. One model, which is the Western model, is where you have slow economic progress and political development and the franchise happens slowly and along with economic progress. The other model is the East Asian model, very successful economically over very shorter periods of time, but the political development follows the economic development, like in Korea or Taiwan, or doesn't happen at all, as in the case of China. And India just defied this model completely. So that's the sense in which there's precocious. It's also precocious, which we can go into in the fact that we did services much more than manufacturing. But there's an even deeper sense in which we define precociousness, is that the Indian policy setup made some very unusual choices, like, for example, emphasizing higher education over basic education, emphasizing disease control and population control over public health, emphasizing welfare and redistribution over creating public goods like infrastructure, health, etc. So the bottom line, I would say, is that India is just a fascinating development experience, partly captured in this precocious concept, but much richer than that as well.
I want to open up some of those, but I wanted to share with the audience, because quite often now there's a great impatience with the economic history of India, and there's also a very fashionable position that Nehru got it totally wrong. But, and I'd love to hear your perspective on that before we go to the future. But just 2-3 data points which are really, sobering and make you wake up, is that when, in 1947, there were only 18% of Indians who were literate. The life expectancy was 32, and every woman's, birth rate was about 6 children to a woman. So that's and then of course there was all the wounds of partition and a feudal, poor, impoverished state that we took up. So to give adult franchise overnight was really, like you said, a precocious idea and not been done anywhere in the world. So when you diagnose this, I wanted to, and the reason I'm asking you to distill such a big book is because I want to also look at what your prognosis is for the future. But when you diagnose this, first, do you think that was a mistake, to give political agency overnight, regardless of caste, class, education, gender, race, religion? Do you think that was a sublime thing that has played out, or was it a mistake?
So, look, we are very clear in the book that we shouldn't make democracy this shibboleth that it gave and it took away. But the unique part of what democracy did for India, what we say in the book, very distinctive from what it did, say, in the West, it was the key instrument of nation building. I think we really underestimate just how hard the challenge of building nationhood in such a diverse society is. So many large countries, federal systems, whether the Soviet Union or Yugoslavia or civil wars that we see in Nigeria,